Here's something.
There was so
He's got a weird, he's the hydrogeologist.
Jeff Mead, are you able to hear us?
Where does he worked in Saskatchewan and then I lost track of him. He went somewhere.
Jasmeet, are you able to hear us?
Probably went to Texas.
Okay.
Usually they go to Texas.
So we spent 6 months in Texas during the pandemic. So we met with the ag commissioner for Texas. They are under so much development.
Okay,
2 o'clock. Awesome.
I'll shut up.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Agriculture Advisory Committee meeting of Thursday, November 14th, 2024. Could we have an adoption of the agenda, please? Moved by Matt, seconded by Andy?
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, all in favor? Motion's carried. And an adoption of the minutes, please. By Matt, seconded by Timothy, all in favor? Motion's carried, and we just have the one item today, so can we have staff introduce 6.1, please?
Thank you. 6.1, we have a non-farm use application for 29551 Fraser Highway. I'll forward it to Alan, who is our planner, who will do an introduction.
Thank you, Christine. Good afternoon, committee members. The application before you today is for a non-farm use application for a portion of the subject property. Just, slide. The property is located in the western portion of Abbotsford, more specifically at 29551 Fraser Highway on the north side, just west of Ross Road. Subject property is 2 hectares in size and is situated within the ALR. And the official community plan designation for the property is Agricultural 1 Uplands. And the property is currently zoned Agricultural 1 zone. The soil classification on the property, all of the property is silt and clay. This is an aerial photograph illustrating the area on the subject property being utilized for outdoor storage. This is the southern half of the subject property. And this here is the existing business at 29571. And this is a slide just showing the progression, historical air photographs from 2005, 2006, and 2023. The proposed use of the subject property can only be permitted via a rezoning application for an ALC approved non-farm use. So that, again, this is a non-farm use application and it will need to be decided upon. At this time, I ask the committee to resolve to make a recommendation to council that council either forward the application to the ALC with support as presented, or forward the application to the ALC with support with changes, forward the application to the ALC with no comments, or deny and not forward the application to the ALC. I know the Cummings are present and their agent, Mr. Gadet, is present, and I think there would be the opportunity now to allow Mr.
Yes,
Cadet.
please. Would you like to say anything?
Please. Think so? Yeah. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Gadet, and I'm here today with the owners, Greg and Shirley Cummings, and their grandson, Braden, who manages the business. Braden is the third generation to run this business. Brad and Kevin, sons of Greg and Shirley, helped them build this business to what it is today. And unfortunately, they have left this world much too soon. With that said, we appreciate your time. We are in receipt of the report that Alan has prepared, dated October the 16th. The report has been reviewed. We find it thorough, accurate, and Alan did a fine job of presenting it. And I do appreciate working with Alan on this file. For your information, Alan took over this file from Anne Marie. I've worked with planners for the last 43 years, from Thunder Bay to Vancouver Island. And Anne Marie was one of the nicest and smartest people I've ever worked with. She is missed. With that said, the Cummings family has been serving the agricultural community of Abbotsford for over 43 years, 36 of those years from this site. Greg and Shirley started the business and have enjoyed every year in this business. They've met many people, they've made many friends with Abbotsford's farmers and others. You've read the application materials and the staff report, so you know Greg and his family operate a key supply component in the agriculture community. They need to be very good at what they do in order for their farming partners to be successful. We believe our application materials and the staff report will convince you that the services supplied by the family for the farmers in this valley is a necessary and crucial component for the farmers. I do not think that many would debate this point, but our challenge is to convince you that this use is properly located on this site. And here's our rationale. As mentioned, they have operated on this location for over 36 years without any negative impact on farming or complaints from adjacent farmers. Only 1.03 hectares of this site is being used for this use and does not impact or create a further loss of good farmland. As Alan has pointed out, the soil is classified as Class 6. The owner will commit to restrict the building and operation from being expanded and will commit to use the buildings for the current use, so there's no likelihood of any changes impacting the land or the neighborhood. The business operates generally, it generates between 50 to 65% of their business from the agricultural community. It's a key supply component which is necessary for the success of the farmers. They serve what I understand to be every type of farm in the valley. And in fact, it's only this week that former Mayor Henry Braun was a repeat customer and bought additional equipment this week. I know I'm being selective when I go into MOA's comments, but they have recognized that this business provides a valuable service to the agriculture industry. This business is your typical Abbotsford farming operation, family operation, supporting many Abbotsford-based initiatives with recent thank you letters for the family support of from the Abbotsford Agri-Fair Livestock Show, the Abbotsford Air Show. Their equipment has also played a key role in helping the community during the flood. By the way, all of what I just mentioned was at no charge. So here's some key questions. Does the proposal protect the land base? We believe so. The owner will commit to keeping the building size and use the same. Therefore, no additional impact on the land. What impact will the use have on adjacent farmland? We don't believe any. Farm traffic is not an issue in this area since the site is on the Fraser Highway, which receives very little farm-related traffic. And as I mentioned earlier, no complaints from farmers for over 36 years. Does the use directly enhance and benefit the current farming operations? We believe so. Because it is a key component in the agricultural supply industry and has been for many years. And as I mentioned before, it certainly benefits the agricultural community with its fast, efficient, and professional supply of services. But here's the key question. Why locate on land that's in the ALR and not in an industrial area? Well, the use has been on this land for over 36 years. Doesn't impact adjacent farmland. The existing hard surface and buildings are well suited for this use. The site works together with the land to the east, which is, Alan has mentioned, has been zoned by council A5. So it's not the subject of this application. It is an approved use. The smaller site cannot operate without the subject site being used for storage and the building being used for servicing the farm equipment. 5 points in conclusion. The agricultural strategy for Abbotsford is the promotion and strengthening of the viability of the agriculture enterprise in pursuing and supporting agricultural, agri-industrial investment. This is an agri-industrial use. This committee has supported many agri-industrial operations located in the LR because these uses are a key component in our agricultural community. AgriFresh acknowledges the important role that these agricultural support industries provide, and that's the business Greg and Shirley in. And lastly, second last, please remember it's not too long ago that the city proposed this site and many others along the Fraser Highway to be removed from the ALR and used for agri-industrial purposes. Staff, professional consultants hired by staff, by the city and council have already stated this area is not suitable for agricultural uses due to poor soil and small irregular shaped lots. Why was that proposal halted? Well, my understanding from reading the reports, it was due to the cost to service the area with water, sanitary, and roads. This family is not asking for any servicing upgrades, and the land is not being requested to come out of the ALR. Lastly, how can you tell a business that has been operating on the same site for 36 years, 12 employees, many of them at the company for over a decade, and some in their 20th year, that now is the time to move? We encourage this committee to recommend support of this proposal. We thank you. Greg, Shirley, and Braden are here to and happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the delegation, please, Kim?
I just want to make a correction. It was said that the soil is class 6. I think there's a lot of confusion about what is said in these reports when it comes to soil class. The texture, I think the class that's mentioned in the reports that the planners put out is not got to do with the agriculture soil classification. The agriculture soil classification for the site is improvable to class 1 and class 2. This, in fact, is very good farmland. There are highly productive farms in this area. And so that's a misnomer. That was just correcting a technical detail.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, would you mind if I put the motion on the floor for us to discuss?
Sure.
I move that we submit this with support as presented.
Do you mind giving your reasons?
Yeah, for us to have a viable farming industry, we need to have these support services. We need to have entrepreneurs who are willing to provide these services. Otherwise, the whole thing collapses without that ecosystem. Clearly the land has been, and the land around it has been developed over time and stuff like this. And I see this as giving them license to not do something new, but to continue on as they are. And so as a productive and an active member of the farming community, I think that we need to support this kind of entrepreneurship if we are actually going to continue to do this. I don't ever see, so to your point, Kim, I think, we can improve lots of different lands, but I think given sort of the way things are, I don't see that piece of land or other ones being going back to primary production. So that's why in supporting this, I would say that it is important for us to have these kinds of companies in Abbotsford to be able to not only support the Abbotsford farmers, but also the other local areas as well.
Just before I go to you, do we have a seconder for the motion? No, no seconder. Randy, are you seconding?
Yes.
Okay. Kim, if you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I just would like to correct something else, and that is even if even if there is, even if a piece of property has been, the soil has been degraded to some extent, there's also a lot of non-soil based agriculture. And I think even in this area, even in the report, it said that there's, for example, a mushroom farm, which is non-soil based agriculture. And a lot of the farm receipts come from non-soil based agriculture as well.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to this?
I guess just one point of clarity is if every one of my suppliers wanted to be on farmland, there'd be an awful lot less productive farmland in the valley. Most of my suppliers are not on farmland. I think to say that our suppliers need to be on farmland is definitely a bit of a stretch. That being said, when you look through that neighborhood, there is very little productive agriculture. It is a if we're going to convert something to industrial, that's the corridor to do it in. So to be honest, I'm torn on this one in that, like, we don't need trailer companies to be on farmland. That's not a good use of farmland. That being said, to class this as farmland when all the neighbors are also either parking trucks or graveled or running small businesses, I can sympathize with the cause. So I think that's important to note in the comments to council.
Okay, thank you, Matt. I just have a couple of questions from something that was in the report. So the report refers to buildings that were converted and expanded without a permit. I'm wondering if you could comment on that.
So there are two buildings. If you want.
Sorry, can I ask you, just because I want to make sure that the mics pick
Can we
up?
go back to the aerial and I can point them out? Then I'll just start on the answer to the question and then I'll let Greg finish it off. So yeah, you had the aerial there, it was a moment ago. Yeah, so you can see there are two buildings. I believe there's another photo that actually points out the buildings that Alan was referencing. There we go. Thank you. So on the top left-hand corner, you'll see former shed expanded without a permit. So what we have there, and Greg will correct me if I'm wrong, there are sea cans, and he has just covered them with the roof. Is that correct, Greg? Yeah, okay. And then the other one, the former agriculture building expanded without permit. So if you were to compare the 0506 with this photo, you'll see there's the long, narrow strip on the south end. Greg, is what you've expanded that building? Yeah, where it says the service building.
The agriculture, yeah. Actually, I closed in that thing and I got a 1947 D John Deere stored in it and the 1946 Maple Leaf farm truck that we had, that's just stored in.
Okay, so there was an overhang that you stored.
Yeah.
So there was, to answer your question, there was an overhang that he has enclosed. So those would be two. The third would be the existing dwelling to have been converted to non-habitable. That is, technically speaking, since Greg lives on the site, that would be considered an AFDU, an accessory farm dwelling unit that would be less than 90 square meters. Okay. That is not directly answering your question to me.
No.
Permitting required there.
That's what I'm asking. It should have been more clear. What are the plans to bring it into compliance?
Well, certainly it would be staff's recommendation, which we would agree with, that all three of those will have to be properly permitted.
Okay, also the other question is, I'm sorry, I should have written it down when you were speaking. But you mentioned if this is approved, there would be a commitment moving forward. Sorry, I forget how you phrased that, but we're back when in the 2000s, when there was permission given by the city, were there not commitments made? And I see, if you look at that aerial photo with all the expansion, it's quite dramatic from what the use was back in the 2000s to what it is today. So I guess that's what I'm asking too. Were there commitments made back then that it wouldn't be expanded to the extent that it is now? Is that making sense to you?
Yes, it's making great sense. Yeah, no, I understand exactly what you're saying. And what you're saying is that, look at, you're standing up here, Brian, saying you're not gonna make any more expansions, but gee, you did back in the previous years. So, I guess
I guess
back,
what I'm asking, was there a commitment made back then not to have expanded to a certain point as well? I'm assuming there was.
there.
I just can't
I'll
remember
answer the
offhand
question
reading
and
the
I'll let
report.
Greg jump in. Whether there was actually anything in writing or anything said, technically speaking, when you're given approval, which they would have had for a home-based business for 1,250 square feet, if they went beyond that, then that would be expanding without approval, okay? And even if you don't give verbal approval or written approval, it's implied that you're not going to go any bigger than what you already have. So I think the answer to your question is that, yes, it would have been made back in the 2000s, whether written, verbal, or otherwise.
I'm just wondering if staff could also, if you have that information at hand, if you could answer that question as well.
Chair, based on historical documentation that was looked at the preparation of this report, I did not see any such affirmations made with respect to future expansion.
Okay. All right.
So I just wanted to underline, from Matt's point, the Ministry of Agriculture's comments. Sorry, am I out of hand?
No, you're all.
Yeah, she was just pointing out that Suk has his hand up. So as soon as you're done, we'll go to Suk.
Okay. And that is that indeed Abbotsford gains almost 4 billion a year in economic activity from agriculture. And so if every single business that didn't have that was a non-farm use, or that a commercial business that was serving agriculture decided to take advantage of the tax breaks and go to the ALR, we wouldn't have any productive farmland. Basically, that's the situation. And Abbotsford would be running a city that has a very incongruent business environment, because some businesses would be located like out of their zone on the ALR, like in a non-conforming zone. And some businesses would be appropriately zoned and paying higher taxes. So that's kind of the crux of what the ministry said. I mean, and we use soft language. We try not to, be too much in your face. I guess we do seem that way sometimes, but but I think that this is a case in point of the type of thing that is really a challenge when it comes to land use, because this business is not, it's serving the agricultural community, but it's not based there because it needs primary agriculture production on that site. That's a bit different. If you need to have the primary agriculture production, and then you run an additional commercial or business, because of that primary production, that creates a relation to the land base on which you're at. So maybe there's an argument, and there are regulations that accommodate for that. But this does not do that. This needs an agriculture community, this business. Yes, it does. And other businesses are located in the commercial and industrial zone in Abbotsford to serve the agriculture community. So that, I don't think I said it as well as Matt did.
Yeah, there's the economic competitiveness.
Yeah. And also just the idea that you would start locating businesses or have businesses expand. Like, it's just great if you can buy a 5-acre parcel and then, expand and expand and expand. And then now, oh, sorry, we have to run our business here because we're located here on the ALR. But if that creates a very bad precedent. And I think in many other cases, the committee has denied these types of applications because because you can just see where this would go.
Thank you. Sue?
Just muted.
Oh, Sue, you're muted, I think, still?
Sorry.
Great,
Excuse me,
thank
Madam Chair. I'm not clear in my mind whether this particular business, the service that this business is providing, to what degree and directly it's benefiting agriculture. I mean, some of the clients might be farmers. We don't have that information, whether it's, equally available to other types of businesses. And I think there's something I read in the report that the ALC is probably better equipped and does have applications where it makes that determination whether a business or service, fits that definition of commercial agriculture, and if those services are directly benefiting agriculture. So I would say that if I were in position to move this, that I could support it, but to go to the ALC, but without support or without comment, rather than with support, because we don't have the information to provide that support.
Thank you, Sue. Was there anyone else that wanted to speak for the first time before I go back to Tim? No, okay.
Matt, I totally understand what you're saying, and I think, on a go forward basis, we have to be very careful. This has been here now generationally. I can tell you we're on A5. My company is on A5 land on Fraser Highway. Our cost base jumped 50% for rent there, and that's without having industrial or commercial, right? We're still on A5. We build greenhouses.
Still a pretty good deal compared to industrial.
I'll put it to you this way. The economic conditions right now are really, really tough. Myself and a few other companies it's a struggle.
Yeah.
So put it to you this way, if we had to put this on commercial or industrial land, at 2 million or whatever it is an acre now, there is no way that these businesses fly. So that's why, I am particularly sympathetic for this, because this is an ecosystem that is supporting the farmers. It's been there for a long time. We're not talking about an expansion or a new business coming in. That, in my view, would be a totally different conversation. Given the economic conditions, given the ecosystem that we need to go here, these businesses do one of two things. They either fold, right? So I've got a friend of mine who's folding his company right now. They either fold or they move out of the province or the country. And I think if we are really trying to address the food security issues that was brought up in the 2020 report by Premier Horgan, we have to have stability for these guys who have been there and operating well for a long time to support what's there. So I agree, and I hear what you're saying. I also acknowledge what you're saying as well, Kim. But what we're saying here is just keep this status quo so they can keep going without that massive jump in rent. Because I know a company like ours on A5 land, I know this is A1, next door neighbors are A5. There's no way you can survive. No way.
Well, I mean, you could argue that literally every business out there in every sector right now is struggling financially. So I don't think it's just,
Farms included.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
farms are also struggling.
yeah, everybody's struggling. All right. Spencer,
Yeah, further to Timothy there, what he said, I understand what he's saying, but when we do allow an upside in farm use here or property use here for through rezoning, it may potentially increase its cost base as well, right? So it's not really going to bring down costs of operations or whatnot along that Fraser Highway corridor. My actual comment is I kind of going back to where Madam Chair, you were talking about the non-compliance issue. That is where it kind of raises a red flag for me. If this committee were to, what decisions this committee makes sets precedent for future committees. And we're setting them up for future committees for a conversation that we should have right now. How do we address that non-compliance? How do we bring it into compliance before we make a decision on that?
I think we do have to focus at the task at hand, though. The issue here is the industrial or the expanding onto farmland, not whether the buildings were expanded with permit or not. I think that's something that's for bylaws to, or building department to deal with, not necessarily our committee.
All right. Anyone else before I call the question? Great, all in favor of the motion? 3. All opposed? Opposed. Oh, shoot, and now I'm in the fun position of breaking the tie. I hate when that happens. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm gonna vote opposed to the motion. I'm just, very concerned about farmland here, and, I think what tipped my, my mind actually was one of your statements, Matt, that, a lot of your suppliers are not on ag land. So we don't necessarily need to be there. So sympathetic as I am, and as appreciative I am, and I don't want to downplay the value of this business to the community, because that's huge value, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate their help during the flood and assistance to other organizations. But yeah, this is a tough one, but I will vote opposed.
So can I, go ahead, Matt.
Sorry,
May I just ask a very quick question? Who was in support? I had Tim and Randy, and was it Jasmeet?
it's Randy and Matt and Tim.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Suk, you had your hand raised. Did you want to make another motion? Sorry, you're muted still?
Yes, I was wondering if this motion is no longer on the table, we could amend it and do another motion.
If you want to make a new motion, that one was defeated. So if you want to make a new motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that this goes forward to the ALC and without comments, without support, because I don't think we have the requisite information to determine whether there's a benefit to agriculture. However, I think ALC will be better equipped and they'll receive more information to make the determination better than us. So given that the owner's been on this property for much longer time, and they would have that opportunity to make that case directly to the ALC, who are better equipped than us to make that determination.
Thank you, Suk. Do we have a seconder?
I would support that.
Seconded by Matt. And Spencer, you wanted to speak?
Oh, no, I was gonna support that as well.
Oh, okay, great. Anyone else wish to speak to this one? No, we're good. All right, all in favor of this motion? Okay, motion is passed.
Is anybody opposed to that?
Yeah, I should ask that. Was anyone opposed to that motion? I don't think so. I can't remember. Jasmeet, were you in favor or opposed? You were in favor? Good, okay. All right. All right, thank you, everyone. Now we just made a motion to adjourn. Moved by Matt, seconded by Spencer. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you for your time, everyone. This is a livelier debate than normal, so